you ever have any conflict of interest problems with your message space work, or even just because obviously Guido's a small operation, so you're running the advertising side as well as the editorial side?
Well, I've put my foot in it quite a few times. I'm not going to. Well, I remember quite a few years ago, a decade ago, we got a 6-figure campaign from Microsoft. The first one we did. I think it's the first 6-figure campaign we ever got. Advertising campaign at Message Space. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't there and wasn't involved day to day. And we ran a story about how New Labour and Tony Blair were in hot to Microsoft, which did not go down very well with the advertising people. Guido quite often loses out on advertising because it takes a view of things. So there's always this conflict. I personally have a simple rule: take the money from everyone. So, and I hope I don't change our editorial line as a result.
Yeah. And do advertisers ever try anything on with you, or are they too wise to?
Someone pulled, years ago, 2012, the Russian embassy decided to buy ads, and they said Russian embassy. This is before they started doing dark things on Facebook, and it was an ad from the Russian embassy with the flag and the logo on it, and it was just sort of the latest news from the Russian embassy, or their view. And that was negotiated by ourselves, when I was a bit uncomfortable with it. But I got invited to the Russian embassy to do a talk, and there was a guy from Labour there. There were Portland, I think, with the spin doctors for Russian people at the time. And I'm sat down, and the Labour guy says some nice things. We're in the gilded ambassador's residence. It's all very nice. And the ambassador, is the same one he is now, turns to me and says, "So, Paul, what can we do to encourage blogging in Russia?" And I said, "Stop locking them up." And he said, and Navalny, who now is much more famous, was one of the ones I named. I said, Alexei Navalny's in jail. He shouldn't be. He's a blogger. And you don't understand. It's very complicated. And the guy from Portland was like, "Oh God," And the political attaché was like, "Why did we invite this guy?" And anyway, I was pretty much cut off, and the mic was taken back off me. And next week, the advertising campaign was cancelled. So I'm quite proud of that. And of course, on Wikipedia or whatever, it says I was paid for Russians, which is technically true, but not very much in the payoff. I mean, I think it was such a short-lived campaign after that. So no, I'm not very good at even remembering who the advertisers are.
That's good. So I think I read in a campaign interview that your colleague at Message Space did that you worked with Labour Leave on the referendum. That just struck me as something that's quite interesting. What does that include, and how do you have to do anything to make sure that doesn't impact your coverage in any way?
The Labour Leave was small part of the campaign. I actually raised money for them. So I raised the money for them, and then I think helped them spend it. So it's a full end-to-end service that Labour Leave got. But it was basically, I knew someone there, and I said, "I reckon I'll get you some money." And they said, "Great." And then they said, "What should you do with the money?" And I said, "I've got an idea." So yes, we did. We did the best we did. I'll give it something that's just come to my mind is when the big battle about HS2 going through Parliament was going on, I was called in by James Bethel, now Lord Bethel, who was at Westbourne Comms. He said, "I'd like to help with HS2." And I said, yeah, it's a terrible project. He said, "No, we want to get it through Parliament." And Jag, who's a more Labour-leaning Keynesian, had gone to see the Taxpayers Alliance, and they had said, "We want you to help." And what's that? He said, "We want to stop HS2." And unbeknownst to us, we both come back and said, "I've got a deal with HS2." And the Chinese wall meant that I was supervising an ad campaign and designing and producing a commercial that was pro HS2 I'm anti-HS2, and Jag was on the other side, and it was kind of inverted. In the end, the ironic thing was there were some similarities in our ads because we both went to Paddington Station to film bits, I think. So you know, it is possible to do your best for things you don't agree with. It's like being a barrister. You know, we just try and do the best.